know he's not an Animal Crossing villager, I just think he's cute. Hi, welcome to Jaunty Adventures, where I talk about cute video games on the internet. Today I'm talking about an actually relevant game for once, Animal Crossing. More specifically, why has Animal Crossing gotten so aesthetic? I've been considering this ever since I picked up a copy of Animal Crossing New Leaf and noticed that it had a much more subtle focus on the aesthetics of your island. At first I was really excited to get to capture that feeling I had as a kid playing on GameCube and on Wild World back in the day. After all, it had that Animal Crossing goodness that seems to have gotten left out sometimes in Animal Crossing New Horizons. It's got deeper animal interactions, it's got a bunch more shops, it just lets your Animal Crossing land be itself instead of you having to choose every single little detail. I was even thinking it might be the better game until I replayed Animal Crossing New Horizons, and damn, it's just so pretty. When I went back to playing, I got way too into it again. I made a library, I updated the coffee shop, I took little pictures of Marshall. I had maybe a little bit more fun than I've been having playing New Leaf. And I have to admit, I really like the focus on aesthetics. It comes at the unfortunate lack of focus on the villagers, which granted is kind of weird, but also I like it, okay? I think a number of things caused this move to a more aesthetic focus. The first thing I want to talk about in this is playstyle. I'm gonna also link to a quiz by Aquatic Foundry that I highly recommend. It asks you a bunch of questions about the reasons behind why you play, and then tells you not only what your playstyle is and how it compares to other people, but a bunch of games that you might like. It's really, really cool and great if you're interested in the gaming equivalent of your Myers-Briggs score. I'm a gardener bounty hunter. I find that unnerving. Basically, playstyles are the basic motivations inside you that lead you to play video games. However, actually a lot of different reasons that people play, including repetitious small tasks like you see in Stardew Valley, hence gardener, and of course self-expression, which is what I want to talk about a little bit right now. This is a motivation that's often kind of sidelined in games. Like, you tend to see it as, oh, you get to pick your outfit for this RPG, or like little home building elements and that kind of thing. So I think that a lot of people were drawn to Animal Crossing because they weren't finding the self-expression elements in a lot of games. I noticed how much I liked the self-expression in Animal Crossing when I picked up Cozy Grove and was bored to tears by it. Apparently I am not playing Animal Crossing for the dailies, which makes sense, I tend to skip them anyway. Another driving force of Animal Crossing's customization focus is of course social media. You can't really talk about changes in Animal Crossing and not talk about the ways that it managed to be an early internet phenomenon. Young women playing self-expressive games that are actually catered to them is a very underserved market, and therefore is going to draw a lot of them in. It's not surprising that online communities began to form in the earlier internet, with players wanting to reach out and find other people with this interest. I remember when you could just chat on Neopets and Gaia Online about your Wild World island and get tips on hybrid flowers and end up getting your little online friends to come and visit your island. It was really exciting and it felt really new, and it definitely wasn't an experience you were having in a lot of other games. Being able to share your stuff from your island with other people is definitely a reason that the aesthetics began to come forward as people figured out how to make really, really cool things just in the little tiny pattern maker. As the internet began to change, people had more cameras, and just generally online communities became different. It's not surprising that the shareable parts of your island became a lot more popular. Sharing your internet's image, rather than just your experience with the island, was completely in line with the way the internet changed around that time, and made perfect sense as social media began to drive the conversation about the game. Since New Leaf introduced QR codes, clothes within the game could be shared. This was not just a great incentive for people who are talented with the stylist to get more recognition from their effort, but also a way to move online fashion movements of the time, like Lolita or that 2013 era Tumblr queen, into the game. This in turn spread the game into more communities who might not seek out gaming content and made them interested in a 3DS, which they might not have sought out otherwise. This meant that when looking into things to add into New Horizons, lovely flocked graphics, cute characters, and ways to customize and show up your island were naturally foregrounded. As we saw in 2020, the aesthetics of the game were so popular that it had its own influencers, who even managed to have their own scandals, rises, and falls. It had definite dominant aesthetics, especially in cottagecore and kind of the goblin core vibes. And some of this is a shame, since villager interactions and immersing yourself into the town has always been a great complement to the decorative aspects of the game. You get attached, you hang out, and you make things pretty. While it's very tempting to write off the rise of the aesthetic as a horrible disaster of our internet age, I think it's also an extension of the original themes of the series. Animal Crossing has always served as something as a proxy for adulthood, a way to learn the adult that you want to be. Like playing house for teenagers. It has all of the structures of childhood. Frolicking about for a living, friends who live on your block and always have time to play hide and seek with you, a maniacal capitalist raccoon ruining your life. It's a game that lets you envision a very free life. It's no coincidence that this is a popular game in the gay community. After all, romantic attachments are so backgrounded as to be irrelevant, leaving you to imagine whatever you want for both your character and the animal villagers. It can be a poly commune or an ace paradise for all the game tells you. It's a playground without the normal dull family structure that most media is trying to push on you. Your friends won't announce that they're pregnant, no one's asking when you're gonna get married, nobody expects you to get a six-figure income, and only the llamas bug you about their stupid wedding, and you can just leave them on that island with the hippie. A thing that I totally wouldn't enjoy in real life. Absolutely not. I'm excited about your upcoming wedding. For an child-free adult living on her own, it's still an appealing fantasy. As a child who wanted to be an artist, who wanted to live on her own and not be weighed down like I saw the adults around me as being, it was even more so. It allowed me to imagine my own version of adulthood the way I wanted it to be. One that skipped the dull parts and only had the fun. One that skipped the weddings for getting to be a regular at a cool coffee shop with an awesome musician every Friday. I think that in the same way that getting to envision adulthood can be through play and through Animal Crossing is also part of what makes us all, a lot of us, have that crazy aesthetic change somewhere in our young adulthood. I think that's because personal style is a part of imagining what you want adulthood to look like for a lot of people. Personal style reinvention is a phase that a lot of us go through, especially if we're going through the awkward process of dealing with who we are when we're up against mainstream culture, or at least what we perceive as mainstream culture. I think that's part of why this has had a concurrent rise with cottagecore. To fantasize about the strawberry dress is to imagine a life that it would fit into, one where you live in a romantic cottage, perhaps with no men and only a happy garden and lots of books and tea. It is different from, say, a Saboya-influenced cute urban life you might fantasize about with your Lolita coordinates, or the awesome clubs you'd want to visit in your old-as-hell leather jackets. While clothes are not by any means the most important things about life, or about a good Animal Crossing game, I think the full customization and aesthetics of Animal Crossing feed into this fantasy imagining of adulthood that Animal Crossing offers. And sharing these images, say, of a happy cottagecore lifestyle, or your immaculate sweater collection, or even your perfectly curated island, can show you that you're not alone in a less standard version of adulthood. Even if you do decide eventually that you want the exact script, you want college, marriage, kids, and death in that exact order, no deviation, well, at least you've thought about it. Considering the options to what society tells us we have to do is an important part of self-actualization after all. This is why I think that Animal Crossing has gotten so focused on the cute recently. It's driven by both a natural drive for self-expression in imagining our lives and the changes in fandom that social media and the growing internet has brought about. As much as I enjoy New Horizons, I would still love to see the next game incorporate features that make the villagers feel more like friends, and less like malfunctioning animatronics at Rainforest Cafe. No offense to Cha-Cha, whose name, I just found out, is spelled with not one, but 2 exclamation points, one after each cha. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. I'm trying out a bit of a new style for this one, so let me know if you like it. And if you want to see more explorations on the themes in video games in the future. Subscribe for more videos on cute retro and indie games right to your subscribe button every Wednesday. Thanks again for watching.